Blossom end rot is one of the most frustrating problems in tomato gardening across the United States. Right now, somewhere in your kitchen, there is a container of crushed eggshells waiting to go into your tomato garden. Those eggshells are a complete waste of time. They are not going to fix the black sunken rot on the bottom of your fruit this year, and they won't fix it next year either. The reason you keep losing tomatoes season after season is because blossom end rot has absolutely nothing to do with a lack of calcium in your soil. Today I'm walking you through the real cause of blossom end rot, why the standard eggshell advice fails every time, and 3 corrections that actually stop the problem at its source. Stay until the end because the single most effective fix takes less than 30 seconds and costs absolutely nothing. Drop your state or country in the comments right now, along with your gardening zone. I want to see where this community is growing from. Let's get into it. You watch a tomato develop beautifully for weeks. Then a small water-soaked spot appears at the bottom. It darkens. It sinks. The fruit rots before it ever ripens. Gardeners from Florida to Washington State reach for the same wrong solution every time. Crushing eggshells, dumping calcium lime around the base, buying calcium sprays. Sometimes it seems to help temporarily. But by the following season, the rot returns to the exact same bed. That recurring pattern is definitive proof of a wrong diagnosis. Here is the scientific truth about eggshells. They are made of calcium carbonate, an incredibly stable compound. In a typical garden bed, raw eggshells take 2 to 3 years to break down enough to release a single mineral element. By the time those shells decompose in your garden in Georgia or Ohio, the tomato plants you were trying to save finish their entire growing season 18 months earlier. You aren't feeding your plants. You're burying kitchen waste. Your soil almost certainly already has enough calcium. Agricultural data across North America consistently shows that true calcium deficiency in backyard soil is exceptionally rare. Adding more calcium to soil that already has adequate levels will never stop blossom end rot. Type eggshells in the comments if you've been crushing and saving them all winter, believing they would fix this problem. To fix blossom end rot, you have to understand how a tomato plant actually moves nutrients. Calcium is an immobile element inside plant tissue. Once it reaches a leaf or a stem, it stays there. It cannot be redistributed if demand increases elsewhere. Every developing tomato needs a continuous, uninterrupted supply of fresh calcium delivered directly to its cells during active formation. Calcium moves through a tomato plant in only one way: dissolved in water moving up through the vascular system via the transpiration stream. When soil dries out between waterings, water movement through the root zone decreases significantly, halting calcium flow entirely. When you notice the dry soil and suddenly soak the plant, a surge of water rushes into the root system. But the plant violently redirects that water to the leaves and new stems to recover from drought stress first. The fast-growing cells at the very bottom of your developing tomatoes are the absolute last in line for that water delivery. When the supply is interrupted repeatedly, those cell walls collapse during formation. That collapse is blossom end rot. This is not a soil calcium problem. It is a calcium delivery problem caused entirely by inconsistent water movement through the plant. If this just explained years of failed fixes, hit that subscribe button. I break down real plant diagnostics like this every single week. Here are 3 corrections that actually work. Correction 1. Consistent deep watering. This is your most important defense, and it costs nothing. Tomatoes need stable soil moisture, not waterlogged mud, and not bone-dry dust. Every dramatic cycle of drying out followed by heavy flooding interrupts the calcium delivery pipeline to your fruit. Water deeply and infrequently, rather than lightly and often. 1 deep soaking that saturates the entire root zone completely outperforms 3 shallow waterings that wet only the surface. Mulch heavily around every tomato plant. 3 to 4 inches of straw, wood chips, or shredded leaves across the soil surface retains moisture. Moderate ground temperature and eliminates the extreme drying and wetting cycles that trigger cell collapse in developing fruit. Zones 3 through 5 across the northern tier, deep water every 3 to 4 days during dry spells in July and August. Zones 6 and 7 across the mid-states, every 2 to 3 days during peak summer heat. Zones 8 and 9 from Texas through the Carolinas, every other day minimum when summer heat is intense. Zones 10 and 11, daily deep watering during the hottest months to maintain consistent baseline soil moisture. Correction 2. The transpiration balance prune. If blossom end rot is actively appearing on your plants right now, you can fix the internal pressure balance without buying a single product. During a heat wave, a massive canopy of large lower leaves acts like a giant pump, sucking all available water up to the foliage and leaving almost none for developing fruit clusters. By cleanly removing the low non-productive leaves below your first fruit cluster, you lower the plant's overall transpiration demand. This forces the root system to redirect water and the calcium dissolved in it directly into the expanding tomatoes. Perform this early in the morning, wherever you are watching from in the world, ideally before 9 a.m. in your own local time zone, before the heavy morning sun hits your specific garden. Leave the upper canopy intact to protect developing fruit from sunscald. Correction 3. Phosphorus for root architecture. Instead of dumping calcium into your planting holes, focus on root expansion. This is where bone meal actually delivers results. While it does contain calcium, its true power lies in its high phosphorus content, which breaks down steadily as microbial activity warms the soil. Phosphorus doesn't cure rot by flooding the soil with minerals. It triggers deep, aggressive root architecture. Think of it as building a better pump. A tomato plant with a massive root system can access deep moisture pockets during heat waves, keeping water delivery and calcium flow stable when shallow-rooted plants collapse. The calcium in bone meal is just a bonus. It's the phosphorus-driven root expansion that ensures your plant can reach the water it needs. Because bone meal requires a slightly acidic environment to break down efficiently, it works best in that ideal 6.0 to 6.8 picohenries range. At transplanting, mix 1 tablespoon of bone meal into the bottom of each hole to establish a resilient root network from week 1. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Next week I'm covering the natural soil amendment that prevents nutrient lockout and fungal blight simultaneously. 2 additional hidden causes most gardeners never consider. Root damage during cultivation is a significant hidden trigger. Digging aggressively with hose or weeding tools near tomato stems severs the shallow feeder roots responsible for water absorption. Less root mass means less water flow, which means immediate delivery failure to developing fruit. Keep all tools at least 12 inches from any tomato stem throughout the entire season. Over-fertilizing with high nitrogen products pushes rapid leafy growth. That sudden surge of new tissue diverts all internal moisture toward expanding leaves rather than fruit. Once your plants begin setting fruit, switch to a balanced fertilizer or compost tea. Avoid high nitrogen formulas completely during fruiting. Finally, check soil pH. If your soil drops below 6 or climbs above 6.8, calcium becomes chemically locked in the ground and completely unavailable to roots, regardless of how much is present. A basic test from any Home Depot, Lowe's, or local garden center takes 5 minutes and costs almost nothing. Zones 3 through 6, test pH in early spring before transplanting. Zones 7 through 11, test in late winter to allow time for amendment before planting season begins. Mulch every tomato plant immediately after transplanting. Establish a deep, consistent watering schedule and never let soil dry to the point of wilting. Prune low foliage to balance water pressure during heat spikes. Protect the root zone from tool damage. Add bone meal at planting to build that deep root architecture and secure your water highway. Have you dealt with blossom end rot before? Drop the variety of tomato you were growing in the comments and tell me how many fruit you lost. And if you've already successfully solved blossom end rot in your own garden, Reply and share exactly what worked for you so other gardeners can learn in the comments. If this just saved your summer harvest, subscribe. This is Plantoria Gardening. Traditional techniques, real results. No hype. Stop blaming your soil. Start managing your water. The calcium your tomatoes need is already there. Your only job is making sure it reaches the fruit. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.